Hey, what's up everybody? It's Flux with Fluxwithit.com, and today we're going to check out the OMF-1 analog filter from Mode Machines. Something interesting about this filter is the OMF-1, when you first look at it, you think, okay, well this is just a simple rack filter, there's not going to be a lot to it. But it's actually pretty deceptive because although it's essentially an analog 4-pole ladder filter design a la the 1960s Moog filter, what's really interesting about it is it's actually got multiple taps on here. So there's your input gain, which will allow you to send it everything from a guitar instrument level all the way on up to modular level inputs on this thing. It's got a very, very wide-ranging preamplifier on here. Then we have our filter cutoff control, we have our resonance control, but then over here, this is where things get interesting. We've got a fizz control and a smooth control. Now the fizz control is actually a 6 dB 1-pole filter, and the smooth is the traditional 24 dB ladder control. They're both on attenuverters. What that means is we can have it be a positive amount or a negative amount of this filter, so we can actually flip the phase on here. We can get opposite phases, and we can get them both out at the same time. That allows us to get really interesting results with the filter. You can get bandpass filters out of this, notch filtering. You can get varying degrees of slope out of it because you can actually use varying amounts of the filters against each other, okay? Of the poles against each other. Then over here we have our traditional dry and wet, and then we also have a 50%, which is, in between. We've got a output stage here with a volume, all right? Now this will give us 10 dB of gain out here. The peak LED on this is actually not giving us post volume peak. It's actually letting us know just how hard we're hitting the filter itself. This is actually what the load of the filter core is. This filter's been designed so that it'll actually overdrive very nicely. So when you send it really hot signals, you get this nice analog overdrive out of it. You can back that off, or you can crank up the input gain and get really cool overdrive out of it. But you want to be careful because, again, your peak LED is not post volume control. So if it sounds like it's clipping a bit, you might want to back it off. The filter control has a sidechain input on it, or you can have it getting a trigger from your audio input source. So you can send it kick drums or whatever and have it start ducking. Lots of fun things. You've got an up and down control. Now these are actually envelope controls. So you can you're basically controlling the slope of the envelope on here. And we have an envelope depth control that's also on an attenuverter. So you can have it pushing the filter open or slamming it closed. And then we've got 3 different envelope modes. We've got our follower up top here. So it acts as like an envelope follower, kind of like, those classic funk bass pedals where you were getting like that Mutron sound and it was envelope following off of that thick filter. You've got an attack release, and then you've also got an attack decay. Around back, we also have CV input for our filter, and we also have gate input. So we can use this thing with a modular. We can send it sources from things like a TB303, Rhythm Wolf, Minilog, whatever you want. You can send it gate sources and CV sources to control the filter as well. You've got a threshold to set just exactly how hard you want it to get hit and how much you want it to move. Then we also have an LFO with the LFO rate. You've got your choice of square and triangle waves, and you also have an auto trigger on or off. So you can actually have the audio input triggering your filter on this thing. And then of course an LFO depth. Around back, it's a mono input audio source and a mono output. And again, you've got your CV and gate, and you've got your sidechain input. Now, let's go ahead and take a listen to this thing. Now, this is with the smooth output all the way up, so we're getting 24 dB on this. Let's go resonance about a quarter of the way up. Let's go halfway up. And we want to be careful because this will self-oscillate. There's that self-oscillation. Now this is a fully analog control on here, so there's absolutely no stepping in the filter, just pure analog tone with this. Now let's listen to the fizz. We'll take the smooth back to 0 and we'll push the fizz up here. It's a much more gentle slope. Let's bring that resonance up. And you get that really aggressive resonance when you sweep the fizz on here. So you get that nice bandpass filter when we have fizz all the way negative 100% and smooth positive 100%, and we can switch those, switch the bands around a little bit here, do the opposite, and we'll bring some resonance up. Now let's watch how that resonance reacts as we bring it up. And as we play with the fizz and smooth, you can kind of get some interesting tones. Bring them both about half. Bring smooth up about a quarter, fizz up 100. Now another nice thing that we can do about this filter here is we can use the sidechain inputs, we can use the Lfos. Let's kind of get into some of that. So I'm just going to play a sequence on the mini log. Now let's bring in some of that sidechained input. So now the kick is sidechained to the filter. Now if I want those short, tight pulses, I can drop the release down here. The up and down, the down is like the release of your envelope. And I can bring it up. And we can make that go the opposite way, duck the filter. Let's bring the attack up. Play with those fizz and smooth controls again. Now let's bring the volume down and overdrive it. Gorgeous overdrive. Now let's bring in some LFO. Now that'll go from 0.2 hertz all the way up to 40 hertz. Let's hear it with that square. Let's go back to using the fizz. subtle by taking it back to about 50%. Maybe I want that smooth instead. And maybe you want to invert the phase of that to make it a little bit more prominent. And again, you know, this really changes character as you start to overdrive it. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to send some drums directly through this, and let's just hear how it sounds shaping drums. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send a common drum loop sent from Machine using one of my acoustic drum packs that I created. And I'm just going to allow the envelope follower and the triggering of the audio source itself to kind of modulate the filter. So let's check this out. Bring the mix up. This is the smooth filter. Let's go nice and short with the envelope here. Now, of course, the harder I drive this, because I'm in envelope follower mode, the more will open up. Or in this case, closed down because I have it reversed. Let's go the opposite way here. Now, as I take the input gain down, it's not going to open up quite as much. But as I bring it up, so now I get that stronger opening up along with the overdrive. And of course, as I bring the wet-dry mix back, now let's go to the attack decay. And let's do that again with the fizz. get some really interesting characteristics out of these drums by just sending them through the OMF-1. Now let's go for something a little bit different. I'm going to use a Synthrotech sequencer. It's a modular sequencer, but the cool thing about this sequencer is that I can battery power it and I don't need a Eurorack case. So now I've got the Eurorack sequencer running, and these are all different outputs here, levels of CV going into the filter, and we'll see how it affects the sound. Here, and we'll go in reverse here. Of course, the envelope control is not going to control the filter when you're controlling it by the control voltage. So as you can hear right now, you can actually play this filter using control voltage. Right now I'm not sending it any input aside from control voltage controlling the frequency, and I have it self-oscillating. And the fizz is a little bit more aggressive. And of course, if I increase the LFO depth, you start approaching some of those interesting modular tones. So overall, the Machines OMF-1 is just a really great rack filter. If you want that kind of, you know, traditional ladder filter sound, but you want a little bit more depth of modulation, you want a little bit more control, and you really want to have fun with, you know, being able to get that 6 dB per octave filter and the 24 dB per octave filter. Really great overdrive on this thing. You want to be able to use it on sources such as, you know, guitars, basses, synthesizers, drum machines, you name it. You can really use this filter on anything and it'll work. No worries about impedance matching or any of that. You can just, you know, set it up and go. It's just a great filter. So you still get that traditional pure analog sound with pure analog control, control voltage control, sidechain input, So definitely go check this out at modemachines.com. Peace.